you won't believe what really happened to Aaron Kaufman, the man behind the wildest speed machines of Fast and Loud. For years, he wasn't just a mechanic. Aaron was the soul of the show, the quiet force that turned heaps of scrap into mechanical masterpieces. But then, on a day like any other, he vanished from the show, leaving millions of fans stunned and furious. What could have driven this man, who lived and breathed engines and garage smoke, to walk away while the spotlight was still blazing? Rumors started to swirl, fiery arguments with Richard Rawlings mounting frustration over rushed projects and instant noodle builds made just to hit primetime slots. Aaron had had enough. He no longer wanted to be a cog in a giant TV machine where passion was sold out for ratings. Some say that during a shoot, Aaron threw his gloves on the floor and growled in front of everyone, "I came here to build masterpieces, not to put on a damn show." And that moment marked the beginning of the end. So what truly drove Aaron Kaufman to leave Fast and Loud? The very show that propelled him to fame. Was it just creative disagreements? Or are there darker secrets between him and Richard Rawlings that we've never been told? What's next for Aaron? Let's dive into these questions in this video. 1. The soul of Fast and Loud. To understand why millions were glued to the screen every time Fast and Loud aired, you have to know the name Aaron Kaufman, the bearded man with razor-sharp eyes and hands that turned junk into gold. But Aaron wasn't just a mechanic. He was the technical heartbeat of the show, the mastermind behind legendary builds, the man who helped Gas Monkey Garage rise from a humble Dallas shop to a global symbol in custom car culture. From the very beginning, Aaron stood side by side with Richard Rawlings, the founder of Gas Monkey Garage. One was obsessed with engineering, the other a savvy showman, fire and gasoline. Aaron was quiet, meticulous, almost fanatical about precision. Richard was loud, impulsive, a master salesman of dreams. When they appeared on screen together, it was no longer just a car show. It was a real-life drama, soaked in oil and adrenaline, where every bolt, weld, and handshake had the weight of entertainment. Aaron wasn't just the lead mechanic. He was the technical brain, the craftsman's hands, and the beating heart behind every roaring engine at Gas Monkey Garage. In Fast and Loud, he carried the title lead mechanic, but in truth, he was the one who sculpted the soul of every custom build. From conceptual design, choosing the style, to frame welding, body shaping, engine tuning, suspension setup brakes, and transmission, Aaron's fingerprints were everywhere. For complex builds, he often worked solo, grinding from dawn till midnight, to meet filming deadlines while keeping the quality top-notch. Aaron didn't build cars for show or television. He built them because he was obsessed with cars. He loved the rumble of engines, the smell of old gasoline, and had a deep passion for American classics from the 1920s to 1970s, a time he believed cars still had souls. For Aaron, every vehicle was a worn-out being on the life support, and he was the one who brought it back to life through skill, patience, and an unconditional love for machines. And unlike many on-screen forced duos created for fake drama, Aaron and Richard had real chemistry. Their dynamic was instinctive. When Richard shouted, "I just bought a 1930 Ford from a barn in Oklahoma," Aaron would glance at it and say, "Give me a week." No debate, no hesitation. They understood each other's roles, and more importantly, they trusted each other implicitly. Aaron's presence on camera was never flashy. He didn't need to be the star. But whenever something went wrong, a broken engine, misaligned axle, faulty suspension, all eyes turned to him. He didn't yell, didn't panic. He'd simply crouch down and start disassembling, inspecting, and fixing. He was always the last one to touch the car before it hit the road, and that's why every Gas Monkey build rolled out with near-perfect quality. The success of Fast and Loud wasn't just about thrilling auctions or nail-biting deadlines. It came from the invisible spark between Aaron and Richard. One dreamed big, the other brought it to life with blood, sweat, and mechanical brilliance. Each episode was a duet between vision and execution, between imagination and steel. And Aaron was the hinge that kept the show's doors of success wide open. Then suddenly, just as Gas Monkey Garage was at the peak of its fame, when Fast and Loud aired across the globe, and every new build sent the car community into a frenzy, Aaron Kaufman vanished without a goodbye scene. He disappeared as if he'd never existed. The man who was once the garage's soul, idolized by millions, just evaporated from the screen, leaving behind a strange void and 1,000 unanswered questions. Why did Aaron leave? Were there internal conflicts, pressure from the network, or was Richard the one who pushed Aaron to the edge? These two, who once called each other brothers, now act like strangers. And the biggest question remains, what really happened behind those garage doors that made Aaron Kaufman, the heart of Fast and Loud, walk away without looking back? 2. The original crew all walked away. Here's a truth few people know: Aaron Kaufman wasn't the first to walk away from Fast and Loud. Before him, two key figures who once brought chaos and character to Gas Monkey Garage, Tom Smith and Jordan Butler, disappeared without a trace, without a word of explanation. They were the supporting souls, the lively heartbeat echoing beside the cold, hard metal. Tom's humor and Jordan's outrageousness were once the secret ingredients that made Fast and Loud a TV phenomenon, not just another car show. They weren't the leads, but they were irreplaceable, a perfect contrast to the Richard-Aaron duo. Richard was all business. Aaron was pure technical firepower, while Tom and Jordan brought the raw, unfiltered energy of a real-deal garage, where laughter exploded over the roar of engines and wrenches were spun with jokes, flying the true spirit of oil-stained brotherhood. Then, like leaves swept away by wind, they vanished from the screen, leaving behind a void that no one could fill. At first, fans thought it was just a creative shake-up by the producers. But when Aaron Kaufman, the technical backbone and face of the show, announced his departure, everything collapsed. It was a gut punch to the heart of Gas Monkey Garage. Rumors detonated like bombs. Was the show crumbling from within? People began to wonder what was really happening behind the scenes. Was there a shadow power, network pressure, a split in leadership, something toxic, something heavy enough to drive 3 core members to flee one after another? At this point, Fast and Loud stopped being a TV show. It became a battlefield where the best chose to retreat just to keep their soul intact. A wave of doubt and sorrow swept over the audience. Millions across America couldn't accept the truth. They rewound old episodes, scanned every glance, every handshake, searching for clues. When did the cracks begin? Some fans declared, "I watched this show for Aaron. Without him, it's just a bunch of talking car shells." But in the world of showbiz, where the spotlight hides as much as it reveals, no one wants to air dirty laundry. Those who left chose silence, maybe to protect their dignity, or simply to avoid being twisted into cheap scandal fodder. Aaron never publicly criticized Rawlings, but the things he didn't say only deepened the worry. And then theories about why Tom and Jordan left resurfaced. Some believed they wanted to start their own garage. Others claimed they couldn't handle the pressure from the production team, or perhaps the contracts were just too suffocating. But no one confirmed anything. Everything remained pure speculation, until the spotlight landed squarely on one name, Aaron Kaufman. Aaron's exit wasn't just about quitting. He was the technical architect behind every project, the only one capable of turning Richard's wild visions into roaring metal beasts. When he left Gas Monkey, Garage didn't just lose a mechanic, they lost a piece of their soul. And what was strange was when he left, while the show was still riding high. So what was the real reason? The future of Fast and Loud had never looked shakier. New faces came in as replacements, but they came and went. None could reignite the fire of the golden era. Fans lost faith. The show slowly became a shadow of itself. And then came the lightning strike. Tom Smith broke the silence. He chose TMZ as the place to drop the truth bomb. Everyone held their breath. Would the secrets behind the scenes of Fast and Loud finally be exposed? Were the long-standing rumors of conflict, power struggles, and crushed ambition actually true? 3. Tom and Jordan were pushed to the edge. In the case of Tom Smith and Jordan Butler, their departure was a silent earthquake, muffled by roaring engines and the dazzling flash of camera lights. For years, viewers assumed they had simply taken another path in life, started their own ventures, or stepped back for a break. But then, an unexpected interview on TMZ stunned the fan community. We were fired, kicked out of the garage by Richard Rawlings. For a ridiculous reason, Tom Smith declared, as if pouring a barrel of gasoline onto the long smoldering fire of suspicion. At first, Tom tried to keep things professional. He avoided naming Richard Rawlings directly, but layer by layer, the curtain was peeled back. It all started with a Rolls Royce. Tom said, eyes staring straight into the camera, "This wasn't a build car not for sale. It was Richard's personal treasure, a vehicle he treated like the soul of his empire." And that car became the spark that lit an unexpected purge. One day, the garage welcomed a special guest, a middle-aged man in the late stages of pulmonary fibrosis, with one simple wish to visit Gas Monkey Garage, the place he called his gasoline-soaked heaven. He asked to take a photo beside the Rolls Royce, just to stand next to it, not touch it. Tom agreed. It was a small gesture, a moment of humanity, but no one knew it would be a fatal mistake. Just hours later, the photo appeared on Facebook. Richard Rawlings saw it, and as the story goes, his sacred ground had been violated. No questions asked, no time for discussion. Richard exploded. He screamed, slammed his desk, and summoned the whole crew into the room. "Who the hell let a fan get near my Rolls? Which one of you had the balls?" he yelled. When Tom stepped up and admitted he had given the okay, the room fell into dead silence. Then, like a flipped switch, Richard unleashed his fury. "Who the hell do you think you are? That's my car, my rules. You cross the line, you're fired from Fast and Loud, effective immediately." Tom tried to stay calm, but then he couldn't hold it back anymore. "I worked my ass off to help build this place into something fans love. I'm not your damn errand boy." The words cut through the room like a blade. And just then, Jordan Butler walked in. Seeing his brother in arms being humiliated, Jordan didn't stay silent. If kindness gets you fired, I'm out too. Richard lost it. Get the hell out? Both of you. Right. Now, he roared, throwing a stack of papers to the floor. I don't need a bunch of clowns messing up my business. This is a company, not some damn emotional stage. No official goodbyes. Tom and Jordan packed up and walked out under the stunned silence of colleagues too afraid to speak. They weren't failures. They were the last men standing with enough pride to push back, to preserve their dignity inside a TV machine that was chewing up everything human. Tom later shared, I came there to build cars and bring joy. But in the end, I was treated like a system error. When your job becomes a source of fear, not passion, that's when you walk away. His words sent shockwaves through the fandom, not just because of the injustice done to Tom and Jordan, but because of a deeper question: did Aaron Kaufman see this coming? Did he leave to avoid being the next casualty of a system rotting from within? Right after being tossed out of Gas Monkey Garage, Tom Smith and Jordan Butler fell into total silence. There was no time to sulk, no one waiting with open arms. While fans were still reeling from their sudden disappearance, a rumor began to spread across Dallas and the car modding world. Tom and Jordan are launching their own show. Misfit Garage wasn't a long-dreamed passion project. It was Plan B, a survival move after being thrown out of their former home. Tom and Jordan hadn't planned to leave. They loved the work, loved the crew, and had believed they'd be part of Fast and Loud for the long haul. But after Richard Rawlings fired them without mercy, they had to do what few dare to rebuild from the wreckage. With wounded pride and undimmed passion, they started looking for fellow misfits, skilled mechanics who'd been ignored, underestimated, or fired from other garages. That's why Misfit Garage was born not from strategy, but from defiance and pure determination. It became a haven for those cast out by the system, yet still believed in their hands, and the roar of engines echoing under an old metal roof. At first, Misfit Garage roared with fire and energy. The chemistry between Tom and Jordan drew a loyal audience, especially those disappointed with Fast and Loud. Wild builds, hilarious arguments, and an unbreakable spirit helped the show survive in a brutal market. But then, challenges emerged. Money, management, network pressure, and internal relationships all became tough puzzles. Without the initial backing of a powerhouse like Discovery, they had to build everything from scratch. Once again, Tom and Jordan were cornered, but they didn't back down. Instead of relying on camera crews, they made a bolder move, opening a real garage in the real world called Fired Up Garage. Fired Up Garage was no longer a TV show. It was a declaration, a direct statement to Gas Monkey, we don't need you to survive. In the years that followed, Fired Up grew, becoming a real rival to Richard Rawlings, not just on television, but in the world of real custom car business. Their builds began showing up at expos, aftermarket brands came knocking, and the name Tom Smith, once erased from Fast and Loud history, resurfaced as a symbol of rebirth. And then, as public excitement surged, a rumor leaked that poured gasoline on the fire. Richard Rawlings owned a stake in Fired Up Garage. The rumor spread like wildfire. No one confirmed it, but many in the industry claimed Rawlings had quietly funded the project from day one through an investment firm. Why, most likely a double play strategy, whether Fired Up failed or succeeded, Rawlings would win either way. If that's true, the story gets darker and more twisted. Rawlings fired, two men let them revolt, but secretly bankrolled them behind the scenes. A misdirection play designed to make the public believe he was betrayed, while in reality, he was profiting from the very rebels he cast out. That's not just business, that's politics, psychological warfare, the oldest con in the investor's playbook. 4. Aaron's tragedy, the silent tensions. Meanwhile, another shocking blow struck Aaron Kaufman. The lead mechanic, a key figure, also decided to leave. No one saw it coming because Aaron was Richard's right-hand man, the technical soul of Fast and Loud. He wasn't just a colleague, he was Rawlings' close friend. A relationship that seemed unbreakable suddenly ended without warning. Yet, the story of Aaron's departure felt like a joke. Aaron Kaufman didn't leave Fast and Loud, he erupted out of it like a hurricane. One day, in the middle of the busy grind at Gas Monkey Garage, as the whole crew rushed to finish a Pantera to meet a network deadline, Aaron stepped out of the shop, pulled off his gloves, looked Richard Rawlings straight in the eye, and said cold as steel, "I'm not doing this anymore." Then he walked away, leaving behind a thick silence, like something had just exploded, but no one could hear it. Announcing his exit from the show wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. It was the climax of years of silent build-up, a toxic stew of pressure from the network, underlying friction with Rawlings and creativity suffocated by ratings. Aaron was a metal artist. He lived for mechanical detail, but the producers wanted drama, absurd speed, and a TV show that sparkled more than it functioned. Things began seriously unraveling during the Pantera project. A car that was supposed to be Aaron's dream opportunity to showcase his peak fabrication skills. But when the production schedule forced him to complete it in weeks instead of months, he pushed back hard. Building cars like this is no better than making toys. I'm not a film prop guy, I'm a mechanic. He snapped once on set. Rumor has it, Aaron once slammed a set of keys on the table when Richard pressed him on deadlines. Do you want a real car or just a pile of metal that runs long enough to make the episode? Richard Rawlings, a sharp, calculated businessman and the control freak behind Gas Monkey, didn't like being challenged. The relationship between him and Aaron had always rested on a fragile balance. One chased money, the other perfection. But when patience ran dry, neither was willing to bend. They stopped seeing each other as partners. They became two opposing forces. One was the camera, the other a wrench. The breaking point came late one night after 16 straight hours in the garage. Aaron stood silently staring at the unfinished parts and sighed. That's when he knew he was no longer himself on this show. This wasn't a garage anymore. It was a stage. And he, once beloved by millions for his honesty and passion, had become just the bearded mechanic, added for visual flair. When news of Aaron's departure spread, fans were stunned. Social media exploded. Thousands stormed the show's Facebook page, demanding answers. Though Aaron didn't say much, he made one thing clear. If someone that dedicated to his craft walked away, something deeper must be broken behind the scenes. Eventually, Aaron began speaking about the real reason. It wasn't about people, it was about process. The cars on Fast and Loud were built for show. Fast, simplified, designed to thrill TV audiences. But for someone obsessed with engineering like Aaron, this method clipped his wings. He craved large-scale, technically intense projects, something the show wouldn't allow. He dreamed of massive hot rods, complex V8 engines requiring months of design and fabrication. But instead, he was forced to please the camera, build a car in weeks pack, in enough drama, and wrap it all in time for a 45-minute episode. More than once, Aaron stood next to a half-finished car wanting to tweak it further, rework a weld line. But the director yelled cut, and it was done simply because they had enough footage. What truly shattered Aaron wasn't just the cars, it was how the show became a trap. He had no creative freedom left. Every new car idea was met with hesitant looks from producers. That build's too complicated, not good for TV. And so, a man once burning with passion began to feel betrayed by the very garage that was once his dream. And then the bond between Aaron and Richard Rawlings began to crack. While Rawlings saw a business opportunity in every car, Aaron saw a machine's soul. They used to respect each other, but over time, they drifted apart. Richard wanted fast, flashy crowd-pleasing. Aaron wanted deep, precise, methodical. That difference turned into tension, especially when Rawlings, the business guy, started interfering more in the technical work. Richard wasn't the kind to wait for craftsmanship. He once barked at Aaron, "What do you want? Mechanical art or a TV show?" That line hit like a slap. Aaron, trying to stay calm, replied coldly, "I'm not here to lie to viewers. If you want something that just runs and looks good on the screen, I'm not your guy." The tension between Aaron and Richard quickly became a quiet war within the team. Every time a project was proposed, Aaron suggested a complex, promising build. Richard shot it down as too time-consuming or not exciting enough for the average viewer. Aaron realized all creativity was now strangled by ratings boards, scripted drama, and impossible deadlines. Once in a meeting, Aaron blurted out, "Are we building cars or filming a sitcom?" The room went silent. Richard's face went cold, didn't respond. But his eyes said it all. Aaron had crossed a forbidden line, questioning the show's cash machine. Aaron's exit hit the car scene like an earthquake. Fans didn't understand it fully, but they felt something deeper was wrong. They swarmed social media, demanding answers. But Aaron stayed mostly quiet, leaving just one line, "I'm leaving to be myself again." And that line became a symbol. In a rare interview afterward, when asked why he left, Aaron gave a thin smile. "You can polish a diamond to make it shine, but polish it too much and it disappears." He didn't say who the polisher was, but everyone knew. Ultimately, his craving for creative freedom, the pursuit of high-end projects, along with exhaustion from repetitive work and stagnant ideas, made Aaron certain leaving was the only right choice. He longed for innovation, challenge, and creations that would last. Not just a flashy TV show designed to dazzle the masses. 5. What is he doing now? When Aaron Kaufman announced his departure from Fast and Loud, fans weren't just saddened, they were worried, will a talent like his still have a place to shine without the spotlight of Gas Monkey Garage? But they were wrong. Leaving wasn't the end. It was the moment Aaron marked the beginning of a completely new journey, one not bound by TV scripts, personal conflicts, or artificial deadlines. Right after leaving Fast and Loud, Aaron wasted no time. He immediately set out to find like-minded craftsmen, talents from all over the US, to join him in creating a new project. Bold cars, quality builds, rich in engineering spirit. He started sketching his own designs, reconnecting with old friends in the mechanical world, and laying the foundation for ArcLight Fabrication, his parts company built on the very standards he believed in. ArcLight Fabrication is a real custom car workshop, no longer pressured by cameras or absurd production demands. Here, he doesn't have to cram complex mechanics into a few days just to meet a broadcast schedule. Every car that rolls out of ArcLight is a masterpiece unique, full of personality, and built with the full heart of a true mechanical artist. No longer bound by mass-market formats, Aaron has full freedom to design handpick each component and optimize every structure from engine and chassis to custom suspension. He returned to what made him fall in love with this profession in the first place: limitless creativity. No longer needing to please TV producers, Aaron now answers to only one person: himself. But Aaron didn't stop there. In 2018, he made an official return to television with his own show, Shifting Gears, with Aaron Kaufman. This time, no one forced him to build a car in 3 days just to film a test drive scene. The new show took on a freer, more realistic tone, focusing on the build journey, the testing, and even the failures, things that had been cut from Fast and Loud. On Shifting Gears, Aaron and his team tackled insane projects he had once only dreamed of: off-road vehicles, military trucks, long-distance race cars. It wasn't just a showcase of skill. It was a stage for him and his team to prove that real passion doesn't need the glitz to shine. After getting off to a solid start, Aaron made a bold strategic move. Instead of trying to cover every kind of custom vehicle, he specialized, focusing only on select models. He knew the more diverse, the more scattered your resources. And in the world of fabrication, precision and focus are survival traits. This decision echoed a classic lesson from seasoned entrepreneurs. If you want to win big, choose the right playing field. For Aaron, that ideal playing field was classic Ford trucks, especially the models from 1957 to 1979. It wasn't just a business decision, it was a genuine passion nurtured since childhood. He wanted to turn what many saw as outdated vehicles into new icons of style, power, and craftsmanship in the 21st century. And so, ArcLight rose as a holy ground for classic Ford enthusiasts, especially the F100 line. Aaron didn't follow market trends. He carved out his own path, restoring vehicles that others deemed too old or not commercially viable. That made his brand stand out, highly artisanal and untouched by the increasingly industrialized custom car market. His new venture got off to a smoother start than expected. Aaron quickly attracted attention from investors, and rumors spread that even Richard Rawlings, his former boss, with whom he had serious disagreements, had invested in Aaron's company. Although the two had once fractured, Rawlings had always had a nose for opportunity, especially when it had profit potential. That investment, if real, helped Aaron move faster and farther than most startups in the custom car industry. In addition to Rawlings, he received support from other sources, building a solid technical and financial foundation that allowed him to fully focus on his vision. Aaron Kaufman's departure from Fast and Loud wasn't a quiet period. It was the roar of an engine, announcing his transformation from a silent engineer into an independent icon in the custom car world. He didn't quit, he didn't rebel, he chose a harder road, staying true to what he believed, even if that meant walking away from the stage that made him famous. Aaron doesn't need noise, but every vehicle he builds carries a clear message of passion, precision, and professional pride. What do you think about that decision? If it were you, would you stay with a famous show or step out to do what you truly love? Is Fast and Loud still Fast and Loud without Aaron? Do you prefer a race against time, TV-style build, or the meticulous detail-oriented craftsmanship Aaron is known for? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to keep following more thrilling stories.